Hello everyone, I'm Eriris. Today I'm going to talk about Detective Conan. I'll be discussing Detective Conan Manga Chapter 1109 today. First, let's quickly recap the happenings in this chapter. The chapter begins with Rom and Chianti conversing. Chianti says she read on the internet that someone robbed the shop with only a knife, and she laughs. Rom warns her to maintain focus on the scope. Conan and Kuroda can be seen talking in the other panel. Conan tells Kuroda of the part of the code that he has figured out. Conan says that the lipstick mark on the watch means watch out, and since the Night Stone's eye is painted, it must have something to do with someone's eye, but he is unsure of the meaning. He inquires of Kuroda if he can remember such a man. Kuroda says he remembers a man with a snake-like eye. When Conan asks Kuroda if Wakasa resembles Amanda's bodyguard a lot, Kuroda replies that they do, but he can't be sure because the bodyguard is wearing sunglasses. Kuroda adds, maybe Wakasa is staring at him every time they meet because she still believes he is the murderer. It would be easier, according to Conan, to phone Wakasa and ask her directly. Conan calls Wakasa. Wakasa and the others are preparing to leave their cafe and go to a restaurant at that same moment. Wakasa says that Wakasa was not with them and that she left her umbrella and went home. Wakasa explains the incident and says that Wakasa left her own umbrella because she accidentally broke Kobayashi's umbrella when Conan asks whether she forgot her own. Conan warns them not to open the umbrella as soon as he realizes the situation. Wakasa, however, is unable to hear him because his phone is dead. When Kobayashi and the kids leave the cafe and Korn and Chianti, who are waiting on the roof, see them. The two draw their guns and get ready to shoot. Rom warns them not to shoot since the shoe's color is different as they are about to shoot. Because Rom is warning, they both miss the target. Thankfully, they only shoot the umbrella. Kobayashi is fine. Rom finds it strange that the Kobayashi's umbrella is different. Wakasa can be seen smiling in the other panel. Rom asks Chianti about the shop that was robbed. Chianti says that a nearby gun store was robbed. Chianti is shot in the shoulder as soon as she completes her sentence. Wakasa is the one who shot Chianti. Rom quickly comprehends Wakasa's strategy. Wakasa purposefully allowed Kobayashi to be shot so she could find the snipers and then shoot Chianti. Rom thinks that this is the exact Queen's Gambit. Rom tells Korn and Chianti to retreat. He claims that they will only as pawns for Asaka. Then Rom thinks, now I definitely have no other choice but to turn the time back for my right eye. If only the potency of that drug is just as I have imagined it might work. Wakasa is shown in the other panel thinking of Haneda. She then tightly holds the shogi stone Haneda gave her. On the other page, we can see Conan in the detective agency and Akai at the Kudo's home talking on the phone. No gunshot remnants were discovered by the Conans, but the boys did hear like 3 thunder cracks. Conan tells to Akai that Asaka, Amanda's bodyguard who disappeared 17 years ago, is actually Wakasa. Later, Conan asks Akai about the reason behind his father's involvement in the murder of Haneda Koji. Haneda Yasuharu, Haneda Koji's father, and Akai Tsutomu were good friends. Haneda Yasuharu called Akai Tsutomu, an MI6 agent at the time, and asked him to investigate his son's death because he did not trust both the Japanese and local police, according to Akai. Then we see a flashback. Mary, Shuichi, and Shukichi are seated at a tiny table, while Akai Tsutomu is on the phone with Haneda Yasuharu. Tsutomu hangs up after saying Haneda that he will go to America to look into the death of his son. Mary asks Tsutomu when he'll go in America, and he replies that he'll fly there tonight because he wants to go to his friend Amanda's funeral. After the flashback is over, the call between Conan and Akai on the current day continues. According to Akai, only Amanda's bodyguards were knocked down. Conan agrees with this and adds that none of the other guests were hurt. Then Conan says that the person who did this is the sharp-eyed person in Amanda's dying message, and that they should be careful. This is the chapter's quick summary. It was a truly amazing chapter. I want to start right away since there are so many things I want to discuss. I want to start by discussing Amanda's dying message. This chapter makes it clear, in my opinion, Amanda's dying message points to Rom. Although Conan can't quite figure it out, he knows they have to watch out for the sharp-eyed person. Also, Kuroda saw Rom, so perhaps he will recognize Rom. Conan is know that Kuroda is not Rom, and now he is almost certain that Wakasa is Asaka. In addition, he is know that one of Rom's eyes is artificial. Also, Wakita had asked Conan about Wakasa in a way that made him suspicious in a previous chapter, and now such an occurrence has occurred. To make a long story short, I believe Conan is currently very close to finding Rom's identity. With this chapter, we also were certain that Kuroda is not Akai Tsutomu. I would also like to mention one more point. I'm not so sure about Kuroda's claim that Wakasa may still be staring at him because she believes he is the murderer. We discussed this in the previous video, but I believe Wakasa is aware that Kuroda isn't the murderer at this time. Despite this, she still doesn't like him very much and likely believes that things would change if he came sooner. If Wakasa had believed Kuroda was a killer, I believe he would have been one among the individuals shot in this chapter. What are your thoughts on this issue? Do you believe Wakasa still thinks Kuroda is the murderer? Speaking of Wakasa, this chapter she is cool. In fact, Wakasa purposely broke the umbrella. So fast, however, everything happened. She went right away and robbed the gun store before going to the roof to wait for the snipers to shoot. How did Wakasa know Rom would attack that day? I don't want to state anything definitive, but it's a little odd. She was checking the security cameras in the previous chapters, but how did she foresee Rom would assault her by doing so? She's also unaware of Conan's conversation with Rom, at least, we've never seen Conan mention it to Wakasa. After reading this chapter, my thoughts about the possibility that Wakasa might be obtaining information from within the organization became more strong. We've discussed this in earlier videos, and we see it in manga chapter 1105 when Wakasa has a list of Apotoxin 4,869 victims, and this list is new at least since Kuda Shinichi's death was confirmed. How did Wakasa obtain this list? And to be honest, it makes me quite suspicious how Wakasa knows that Rom will attack her. At the time, I was considering two possibilities: either Wakasa hacked the organization system and obtained the list from there, or someone from the organization leaked the information. There are currently no additional options that I can think of other these two. We are aware that the organization employs skilled computer programmers, so even though the organization system is not their main goal, I believe they are working on it either. Otherwise, police organizations might easily hack the system of the organization. We don't know how skilled Wakasa is at this, so I still believe there's a chance of it happening. Perhaps Wakasa is a genius at this. If that's the case, it's like proving Wakasa was the leaker of the case files. We've seen in previous chapters that Wakasa doesn't have time to take pictures or pause to think about dying messages. In other words, if Wakasa was the one who leaked the case files, she must have obtained them from somewhere else later on. This explains how she got his hands on the case files if hacking is that skillful. Of course, why she didn't release Amanda's dying message is another question. I think it may be vermouth among the people we know, but it could also be someone we don't know. What are your thoughts about it? How did Wakasa know Rom would assault her? Is it possible that she obtained inside information from the organization, or is it simply a strong sixth sense? In all honesty, we still don't know a lot about Wakasa. For example, who is currently funding Wakasa? Did the Hybrid sensor actually work against Wakasa? If so, what kind of connection does Wakasa have to the organization? We learned in this chapter about Wakasa that Wakasa and Tsutomu met faster than we thought. This was my personal opinion, but I always assumed Tsutomu would become involved after a while, but this chapter revealed that he became involved in the incident sooner than I thought. Since Tsutomu has said that he will attend Amanda's funeral, it could not have been long since their deaths. The friendship between Tsutomu and Amanda was, in all honesty, what surprised me the most in this chapter. I wasn't expecting it. And of course, we also need to discuss Rom. To be honest, Rom's thoughts in this chapter were rather interesting. Rom thought, now I definitely have no other choice but to turn the time back for my right eye. If only the potency of that drug is just as I have imagined it might work. I believe this drug to be Apotoxin 4869 because it appeared in Rom's back while he was thinking. In the manga, Hybrid has frequently said that people who resist time will be punished. Now that is. There is something going on, but Hybrid had before claimed that she had been forced to develop another drug. These statements by Rom, in my opinion, might be relevant. Or did he say it because he realized Conan was actually the rejuvenated Shinichi? In all honesty, we know that Rom suspects Conan, but I think he is unsure at the moment. Thus I believe that to be quite unlikely. The first possibility is, in my opinion, more likely. Later, I'll undoubtedly make a video that goes into greater detail. I won't go into further detail at this time because I believe that it deserves even more analysis. What are your thoughts on this? I also want to discuss what Rom said about Wakasa. Queen's Gambit is one of the oldest openings and is still commonly played today. It is traditionally described as a gambit because white appears to sacrifice the c-pawn, however, this could be considered a misnomer as black cannot retain the pawn without incurring a disadvantage. Rom claims that Wakasa just sees others as pawns. My personal opinion is that Wakasa cares about other people, so I don't believe that to be the case. I don't think Rom will let go of Wakasa. Wakasa, on the other hand, I doubt will wait quietly. Thus, I think that the following chapters will be interesting. When I mentioned the fight between Wakasa and Rom, I forgot to say something. Why couldn't Conan discover any bullet marks? That's interesting, isn't it? One of Chianti and Korn's bullets struck the ground, and the other one struck Kobayashi's umbrella, as we could see. How were they not able to find a bullet casing? Is this related to Korn and Chianti's guns or to something else? Now, to be completely honest, I don't like to say it. But I don't think Kobayashi and the kids would understand anything about bullet casings. Wakasa would have told Conan if he had discovered it in any case. Just Hybrid is left, however. I'm not sure what's going to come out of this. Perhaps it's just a case of Korn and Chianti's weapons. Well, there are a few things I want to go into more detail about, but that's it for now. How did you find this chapter? What do you think will happen in the upcoming chapters between Wakasa and Rom? Please share your views with me in the comments. That's it for today. Thanks for watching the video till the end.